The morning rush hour subway car was packed, shoulder to shoulder, with the usual mix of commuters heading into downtown Chicago. Among them sat Rebecca Matthews, a successful investment banker in her perfectly tailored beige blazer, her blonde hair styled just so, holding her 6-month-old daughter Emma close to her chest. Emma had been crying for 20 minutes straight now, that piercing wail that only exhausted babies can produce. Rebecca's designer watch caught the fluorescent light as she gently bounced her daughter, trying everything she knew, but nothing seemed to work. The other passengers were growing restless, some covering their ears, others shooting disapproving glances her way. Rebecca felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. She had closed million-dollar deals without breaking a sweat, but here she was, completely helpless against her own baby's tears. The weight of judgment from strangers pressed down on her shoulders like a heavy coat. 3 seats away, David Chen sat quietly with his 4-year-old daughter, Lily. David wore a simple gray work shirt, the kind that showed honest wear from his job at a local auto repair shop. His calloused hands rested gently on Lily's small backpack as she leaned against his side, sucking her thumb and watching the crying baby with curious brown eyes. David had been exactly where Rebecca was now. He remembered those long nights when Sarah was sick, before she passed away 2 years ago, when Lily would cry inconsolably and nothing he did seemed right. He knew that desperate feeling, that sense of failing at the most important job in the world. The train lurched around a curve, and Emma's cries grew even louder. An elderly woman near the door muttered something about proper parenting just loud enough to be heard. Rebecca's eyes filled with tears of frustration and shame. That's when David made a choice that would surprise everyone on that subway car. He stood up slowly, his work boots steady on the swaying floor, and walked over to Rebecca. "Excuse me," he said softly, his voice gentle as morning rain. "Would you mind if I tried something? Sometimes babies just need a different rhythm." Rebecca looked up at this stranger, this working man with kind eyes and patient hands, and something in his manner told her he understood. She nodded. Too exhausted to refuse help from anyone willing to offer it, David sat down beside her. And without taking the baby, he began to hum. It was an old lullaby his grandmother had sung to him as a child, a melody that carried the weight of generations of love. His voice was quiet, barely audible above the train's rumble, but there was something magical in those simple notes. Gradually, miraculously, Emma's cries began to soften. David continued humming, occasionally adding gentle words. "There now, little one. You're safe. You're loved." The subway car grew quiet as passengers watched this unexpected scene unfold. Here was a man who clearly didn't have much, offering the one thing he had in abundance: compassion. She just needed to hear that someone understood her frustration, David said quietly to Rebecca. "Babies feel everything we feel." "Sometimes more." Rebecca wiped her eyes, overwhelmed by this stranger's kindness. "How did you know to do that?" David smiled, glancing at Lily, who was now standing beside his seat. "My daughter taught me, didn't you, sweetheart? We've had our share of difficult mornings." As the train pulled into the next station, Rebecca realized she didn't want this moment to end. "I'm Rebecca," she said, her voice thick with gratitude. "And this is Emma." "David." "And this is Lily." The little girl waved shyly at Emma, who had now settled into peaceful silence. The doors opened, but neither David nor Rebecca moved to leave. Something important was happening here. Something that went beyond a crying baby on a subway car. "Would you—" Rebecca hesitated, then pushed forward. "Would you and Lily like to have breakfast with us? There's a little cafe near my office that serves the most wonderful pancakes." David looked down at his work clothes, then at Rebecca's expensive outfit. But when he saw the genuine warmth in her eyes, the same warmth he'd shown her just minutes before, he nodded. "Lily loves pancakes," he said simply, as they sat in that small cafe an hour later, sharing stories over steaming cups of coffee while the girls played with sugar packets. Both David and Rebecca discovered something beautiful. Kindness has no price tag. Compassion knows no social boundaries. And sometimes the most important connections happen when we least expect them. Years later, when Emma and Lily had become inseparable best friends, when David had started his own successful auto shop with Rebecca's business guidance, and when two lonely hearts had found their way to each other through the simple act of reaching out. They would remember that morning on the subway, the morning when a father's heart recognized another parent's struggle and chose love over indifference, the morning that proved, once again, that the smallest acts of kindness can change everything. Sometimes, the most profound moments in our lives happen not in boardrooms or grand gestures, but in the gentle humming of a lullaby, offered freely, from one parent's heart to another.